When a farmer finds black eggs on his property, he began to wonder what animal could have laid them. He chose to observe them closely, and when they finally hatched, he was so shocked that he burst into tears. Farmer Raymond had always dreamed of running a successful egg business. His farm, located in a charming valley in Georgia, had been in the family for generations. Unfortunately, the past few years had proved to be difficult for him. What was once a thriving farm was now barely holding on to afloat. The rising cost of feed, growing competition, and dwindling demand for his conventional brown and white eggs had taken a big bite out of his livelihood. Thus, when he happened upon a dozen black eggs strewn across his farm, he was so shocked that he stood there frozen for almost 10 whole minutes. He had never seen or heard of such eggs, and none of his chickens had ever produced anything remotely like that. For a moment, he even thought they might be snake eggs and cautiously scanned the area searching for any slithering creatures in the tall grass. However, it would appear that whatever had laid the eggs had already moved on and abandoned them. Farmer Raymond didn't know what to think. On one hand, those strange eggs might hatch into terrifying creatures he would have to battle later to leave his house. But on the other hand, they could be just what his farm needed to get back in business. People might pay a bit more for those eggs if it would add some exciting twist to their omelets. And maybe they would even pay more for the chicken meat, too, especially around holidays like Halloween. He could become rich if those eggs hatch more black chicks. That is, unless someone else beat him to it. Raymond was not a thief, but those eggs were legally on his property, and he was simply too curious to leave them out in the open for everyone else to see. So he muttered a quick sorry to whatever creature laid them and started loading them onto his truck. He would set them in an incubator that he kept on the farm, and then wait for them to hatch and reveal the surprise inside. In the following days, Raymond monitored the eggs closely and adjusted the temperature and humidity levels with precision, so they mirrored the warmth the eggs could get from a mother hen. Every morning he would check on them, and his heart lifted at the sight of the smooth black shells still intact. He dared to dream about the strange creatures that would soon emerge from them. Would they be completely black as well? In his quiet moments, Raymond imagined the flurry of interest these rare eggs could generate. He envisioned buyers flocking to his farm, each eager to pay top dollar to see completely black chickens. But despite his excitement, Raymond remained cautious, knowing there was still a long way to go before the eggs hatched. The days turned into weeks as Raymond anxiously waited for the black eggs to hatch. The expected hatching date came and went, but there were no signs of life. Day after day, Raymond checked the incubator, hoping desperately to see cracks in the shells or hear the faint peeping of chicks, but the eggs remained still and silent. It was as if their black shells mocked his hopes. Tension built within Raymond as the days continued to pass without any change. The longer he waited, the more his doubts began to grow. Had he been wrong to bring those eggs into his home? What if they didn't belong to chickens at all? Could he have unknowingly endangered the entire farm? Uncertainty took hold of him slowly, eroding his confidence. Raymond's daily routine had turned into an endless loop of diligence and concern. He rose before sunrise, beginning each day by checking the temperature and humidity of the incubator. Yet the more he did, the more anxious he had become. He hoped that these mystery eggs were a godsend and not an omen of ill luck. After preparing the eggs, Raymond continued with his other tasks, feeding and watering his chickens, cleaning the coops, and gathering the normal brown and white eggs. The farm was still in decline, and the pressures of keeping it up weighed on him. Every chore seemed more difficult, and his concern over the black eggs cast a shadow over everything he did. One chilly morning, Raymond woke up feeling unusually weak. His head was pounding, and his body ached with fever. He tried to tough it out, but it soon became obvious that he was too sick to do his daily chores. The unrelenting concern and sleepless nights had finally caught up with him, and he lay in bed, unable to tend to the farm. Days blended into days as Raymond lay in bed, his mind fuzzy from fever. The previously bustling farm started to show the first signs of neglect. While weeds overgrew their boundaries, the chicken CPS became filthy, and the feed bins started to empty. The usual egg laying gradually ceased as Raymond's prolonged absence took its toll on the animals. The close-knit community that surrounded Raymond's farm slowly began to take notice of the changes. Neighbors would whisper amongst each other, concerned about the once thriving farm that was now in disrepair. Jake, a longtime friend and neighbor to Raymond, was the first to take action. He decided to check on the farm and see if Raymond needed any kind of help. As he approached the farmhouse, he saw the signs of neglect and knew something was seriously wrong. Jake knocked on the door and found Raymond in a weak state, barely able to get out of bed. Realizing the severity of the situation, Jake took immediate action. He reassured Raymond that he would take charge of the farm while he recuperated and told him to rest and regain his strength. Jake quickly immersed himself in the work. He tended the chickens, cleaned the coos, made sure that the animals had feed, and even went so far as to reach out to the other neighbors and ask for their assistance to keep the farm running. However, in his weakened state, Raymond forgot to tell his friends about the mysterious eggs in the incubator. Soon enough, Jake and the other neighbors would get the surprise of their lives. One evening, as Jake was finishing up the day's chores, he heard a faint peeping sound coming from the chicken coop. His heart skipped a beat as he hurried inside, flashlight in hand. He scanned the rows of nests. The sound grew louder. Finally, he reached the incubator to see a movement inside one of the black eggs. Shocked at it, the sight, and wondered where on earth Raymond had found such strange eggs, Jake rushed back to the farmhouse to tell his friend that the mysterious eggs in his incubator were hatching. What on earth could be inside them? Jake wondered aloud. Raymond only shook his head, telling his friend that he didn't know yet. But despite his weakened state, his eyes lit up with hope. Perhaps this was going to be the turning point he needed. As he recovered, Raymond recounted the entire story to Jake about the mysterious black eggs from the moment he from the sleepless night had spent fearing they might bring disaster to his farm. He felt grateful now that the eggs were finally starting to hatch to have his friends with him. If something bad came out, they'd help him deal with it. But if something great came out of them, they would all enjoy the moment together. 2 days later, Raymond was well enough to get out of bed. He and Jake knelt beside the incubator, their faces inches from the hatching eggs. Then the first chick emerged. Sorry to interrupt, but before continuing with the story, I request that you like this video and subscribe to this channel, as these are very important for us. Thank you so much. Both men exhaled a sigh of relief when they realized the creatures inside the eggs were indeed birds. But the sigh became an amazed gasp when they beheld the features of the chick. Its feathers were a slick, shining black that glittered in the dim light. The eyes of the chick blinked open and let out a tiny, triumphant chirp. One by one, the other eggs started to hatch. Each chick was a marvel with sleek, black feathers. Bright, inquisitive eyes. The hatching process was mesmerizing, with the chicks struggling and fighting their way out of the shells, a resilience that reflected Raymond's own journey. He watched transfixed as the last chick finally broke free. Jake quickly whipped out his phone and started searching for answers on the internet. These might be Samani chicks, he said eventually, his voice shaking with emotion. Raymond turned toward him with a frown. He had no idea what Iamson chicks were. Chuckling, Jake explained that these Indonesian chickens are extremely rare and in demand due to their jet black characteristics, including eyes, beak, and feathers down to their very bones. Their eggs could be sold at an astonishing price. He was also sure that people would pay just to take a look at the chickens. He couldn't understand how those eggs ended up on Raymond's farm, but he was pretty confident they would take all his financial problems away. At that moment, Raymond's emotions overwhelmed him. Tears welled up in his eyes, and he didn't try to stop them. He who had fought and sacrificed so much now finally held in his hands the promise of a brighter future. The sight of the Iamsini chip, so rare and so beautiful, brought a profound sense of relief and joy. He wept openly, his tears falling onto the straw-covered floor. The reality of the moment was beginning to sink in. His farm had been on the brink of failure, but fate had bestowed upon it a chance to thrive. The black eggs finally hatched, marking the beginning of a new chapter in Raymond's farm. News of the hatching spread quickly through the community. Neighbors who had supported Raymond during his illness flocked in on the farm to witness these extraordinary chicks. Indeed, Chamonix were jet black plumaged and really stunning. One was left gasping at such a wonderful sight. Raymond's renewed hope was not only about being able to meet his financial demands, it was about a dream he had almost lost, about passion he had put into his job. These Iamson chicks depicted the start anew, an opportunity to rebuild and grow. As he watched the chicks explore their new world and peck at the straw, The days that followed, Raymond felt a sense of fulfillment he had not known in years. He had carefully looked after the chicks. It was imperative that they receive the best care possible. He had made a special enclosure for the chicks with heat lamps and fresh bedding. He documented their growth by taking notes on their development and behavior. Their sleek black feathers shone in the sun, and their curious, lively nature brought new life to the farm. But before very long, Raymond started noticing something quite special. About these chicks, their unique characteristics went beyond stunning appearance. The chicks were incredibly hardy. They were growing well under conditions that would challenge other breeds. They had grown faster and strong, more so than Raymond had expected, and had a hardiness to them that was unparalleled. Their feathers were completely black, but when the light was just right, they shimmered with tints of green and purple. It was as if they carried a touch of magic in their plumage. Meticulously documented these observations, he realized that even within their rare breed, his Msamani brood was exceptional. Their quality and rarity made them a potential gold mine. Word of the remarkable chicks spread fast, drawing attention from beyond the local community. One afternoon, Raymond received a visitant who introduced himself as Mr. Harris. He was a wealthy investor keen on investing in rare and exotic breeds. Mr. Harris had heard about Raymond's Amani chicks and was eager to see them for himself. Mr. Harris was immediately fascinated by the vision of the IAMS Mani. He admired their singular beauty and remarked on their remarkable health and vitality. Turning to Raymond, his eyes shone bright with enthusiasm. "These chicks are something else," he said. "I've never seen anything like them." Raymond swelled with pride. He knew they were special and had invested in them everything he had. Mr. Harris nodded reflectively. "I can see that," he said. "I think these birds have a great deal of potential, not only as breeders but also to capture niche markets that value their rarity and beauty enough to pay a premium. I'd like to make you an offer. I'd be prepared to invest in Raymond's farm, providing the necessary financial input to expand and improve operations. In return, I'd want to share in the profits from future Amani sales and breeding programs." The offer was generous and would ensure Raymond's financial security. Above all, it would ensure that the farm would be stable and continue to grow. Raymond listened attentively and weighed the offer. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for. It was a chance to not only save his farm, but to see it through, drive beyond his wildest dreams. With a firm handshake, Raymond accepted the proposal. A weight lifted off his shoulders. The partnership with Mr. Harris meant that his Amani chicks would bring prosperity and recognition to his farm, but it still wasn't over one sunny afternoon. As Raymond was tending to the flock, he noticed something peculiar about one of the chicks. It was slightly larger than the others, and its feathers had an even more striking iridescent sheen. Raymond was intrigued. He reached for a closer look. Examining the chick, he noticed its eyes were a striking shade of blue. Not like the other Samani. Raymond's heart skipped a beat as he realized he might have stumbled upon something really important. He at once called a geneticist dealing in poultry to examine the chick. The geneticist came and conducted a series of tests. The results turned out to be astonishing. The chick had a very rare genetic mutation that enhanced its to these already remarkable characteristics. This mutation not only made it even more visually stunning, but also endowed it with increased resilience and a faster growth rate. The chick was, in essence, perfect specimen of the Simone breed. Its qualities were unparalleled. News of the extraordinary chick spread like wildfire. Collectors, breeders, and enthusiasts alike scrambled to get a glimpse of and hopefully acquire the bird. Demand went sky high. Offers flowed in, each one higher than the last. The revelation of this unique genetic mutation ensured that Raymond's farm would remain at the forefront of the rare poultry market for years to come. With the value and demand for his AMSI chicks firmly established, Raymond's long-term success and the farm's sustainability were assured. Each day, he would stand in the coop watching the majestic birds peck at the ground as a profound sense of fulfillment swept over him. Against all odds, he had not only rescued his farm, but transformed it into a beacon of hope and success. Did you enjoy this story? How have you guys dealt with difficult times in your life, like what Raymond has gone through? What advice do you feel like giving to those who are going through them right now? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, subscribe to this channel and leave a like. Sometimes It is just when we lose all hope that miracles happen. Thank you so much for listening. See you in the next video. Have a great day.